I think it was also a factor of growing up in a family of 3 women. That especially if you fight hard enough and you're determined enough, you can accomplish anything you put your mind to. And especially when somebody tells you you can't do it. So that has filtered through my life and my sister's life in many different ways, through school and sports and relationships and careers. So when I was 23, I decided to start a nonprofit organization based in this tiny little village on the coast of South Africa that I had been connected to in different ways. And so I went through the formalities of getting incorporated and tax exempt and raising some money, and I decided to move to South Africa and get things going. So I moved into my friend's backpackers lodge. I stayed there for free in exchange to cook breakfast for backpackers, which everybody would inevitably order a poached egg, which is the one thing, well, not the one thing I can't do, but I can't poach an egg. So I would give the backpackers rides, and I would spend a lot of my day in the village just talking to community leaders and getting into the school and reaching out to people that I had been connected to before, to make sure that the programs were driven by the community and led by the community, and I was determined to make it work. So on the side of this backpackers lodge was this tiny little shack where these 2 grandparents lived, and they were taking care of about 7 grandchildren. And 2 of them were these brothers. They were 11 and 14, and they were in the school that I was starting to work with, so they really got interested in what I was doing and kind of started hanging out around me and shadowing me, and then I would kind of shadow them in the village, and they helped me out so much in developing trust in the village, and we sort of started joking that they were like my little brothers and I was their big sister, and they had told me that their mother wasn't around, that they had learned so many wonderful lessons from her, to stay in school and to work hard and to stay away from drugs, but she had since struggled with drugs and had been very absent from their lives, and they hadn't seen her in a few years. And their grandparents were kind of abusive, so naturally I was trying to just kind of gently be a positive resource in their life, and I made sure they were doing their homework and not hanging out at the bar at the backpackers every night and getting to school, and we became this little family unit in this really funny way. They were such a huge part of the work that I was doing. So one morning I'm trying to poach an egg unsuccessfully, and the boy's older cousin runs up to me in this panic, and he's like, Katie, you have to drive us to the hospital in Knysna, which is an hour and a half away. There's been a horrible tragedy, and we need to get in the car, because I was one of the few people with the car, and so I was like, yeah, let's get. I'm immediately thinking the worst, and he says, it's the boy's mother. There's been a terrible attack, and basically somebody had targeted the family and filled up a big empty beer bottle with gasoline and lit it on fire and threw it into this shack that the boy's mother had been staying in the village. So 8 of us pile into this tiny little car, and there's so much panic. They're all part of the same family, and the boys are there, and I can sense that they're starting to just kind of listen and figure out what's going on, and they're getting really scared. And I'm only picking up little pieces of it because they're speaking in Afrikaans, and it's a really long drive. So we get to this hospital. It's not like anything we're used to. There's no reception area or check-in. It's a very underfunded government hospital, and so we're just kind of we just go in and we start running through the halls trying to find this woman. So we get to the correct floor, and one of the nurses sees us running, and she turns to the right direction of the room, and I'm kind of, I understand my place in this. I'm giving the family a ride, and I'm trying to sort of keep my, the appropriate distance and let them sort of face what they were about to be faced with. And I'm right behind them, sort of behind this crowd of 8 people, and everybody kind of walks in, and the youngest little brother is right in front of me, and I'm getting ready to kind of be there, and he whips around and wraps his arms around my neck and starts crying in my shoulder, and he's completely frozen and can't go in the room because he's just too scared. And I'm immediately sort of this wave kind of hits me of, of course I care about these boys. Obviously I've developed this relationship with them, but I think it was immediate fear of this big sister, little brother relationship is much more significant than I had realized. So we get through that. I help him get into the room and at least be able to see his mother because she's completely wrapped up. You can see nothing really but her eyes. She couldn't really talk at that point. But we get through that first visit, and I do the only thing I know that I can possibly do in this situation after we leave the hospital, and I go straight back to the village, and I'm like, okay, if they're going to be going through this emotionally, I'm going to go straight to the house, and I'm going to call the police. I'm going to get somebody here. I'm going to hold somebody accountable. And so I get on the phone, and this tiny little shack is still kind of like smoking, and people are walking around and like picking stuff up, and I'm thinking like, I've never been in a crime scene, but I'm like, I get on the phone and I'm like, you guys gotta get here, we gotta take this off, you have to take fingerprints, and we have to make, reassure the community that this can't happen, and the police like immediately dismissed me. And I think part of it was because they could tell from my accent that I was foreign, and the other part of it was just this happens all the time in the village. So they just didn't care. And nobody came. And so the next few weeks, were filled with going to the hospital and taking different family members and trying to just be with the boys as often as I could. And I really kind of took my focus off of these programs that I was trying to get started and just tried to spend as much time as I could with them and take them to the beach and do some things that were fun and talk about their mother and try to help them sort of process some of the stories that they could remember so that they could preserve those good memories just in case the worst happened. And things were going okay, and it had been many weeks, and we thought, I sort of got to the point where we almost got into this comfort where I thought she was going to come out of it because it had been so many weeks and she was still in the hospital. And the morning of Mother's Day, we got the call that she had passed away. And the boys never got a chance to sort of take that one last trip because it was quite far. And immediately, because the municipality had gotten involved in what was going on, they realized that these grandparents were taking care of way too many kids in their custody. And so the boys were at risk of becoming like wards of the state and sent off to who knows where and kind of fall through the cracks as that happens to many children in South Africa. So I immediately become like angry and frustrated that this is like, I came here thinking, I can start these programs and I can do anything, I'm gonna work hard enough and, I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna fix what's going on in the village and we're gonna do it responsibly. And I understood my limitations, but I thought if I worked hard enough and we got enough people involved that we would be able to do it. And this was something that I couldn't fix. There was nothing I could do, no amount I could pay or nothing I could do to fight this. This is gonna be something that these boys were gonna have to live with. And I couldn't change that. And I was so mad because I always thought I could do whatever I put my mind to. So immediately, the immediate weeks after, we ended up finding a safe housing situation for the boys. I had sort of toyed with the idea that maybe, I'm not one to say, everything happens for a reason, or like if you can change one person's life, it's all worth it. It's like a really nice sentiment and I appreciate it, but I can't stand it. So I was like, okay, but maybe this is why I'm here. Maybe I'm not here for this organization. Maybe my purpose is to be a parent to teenagers. And I quickly realized that I didn't really have the skills or tools to do that either. So we did find a safe living situation for the boys. And for the next 4 years, they were still by my side, and they were part of every single program that we did in the village. They got, the parents involved and the other kids involved, and we all sort of built these programs together. And they grew up and they finished high school. And when I eventually obviously came back to the United States, and my life sort of went on quite easily. And when I think back on that time and I think about the failures and the things I wish I would have done differently, I still wish I could have made that situation better for them. But I think it's not about the solution that you can find in the moment, or how settled you can become with, this decision or this goal and whatever you're achieving. It's more about not turning our backs on each other. And we, the three of us kind of got swept in and pulled under in different ways by this, but we got out of it together. Thanks.